How we doing there, boys and girls? Manthieus here. Welcome back to another video. So today I'm on the PTR and I got some really interesting news. This is both really good news and really bad news, depending on what type of player you are. Depending on how I've planned to thumbnail and title this video, I'm sure it's attracted one group more so than the other. But I need to talk about the work orders. I talk about the work orders and I focus on the crafting side of things in game a lot on this channel. And there's a big change coming in patch 10.0.7. Now, we don't have a release date for this yet, and it could and still probably will be subject to change. But I wanted to talk about a change that was made on one of the last builds on the PTR, and it's all about public work orders. Many people have been really frustrated with the public work order system, claiming that it's just never used, they can never find any public orders, and Blizzard is trying to address this. In a weird way, they've kind of done a flip-flop from what they had originally decided to do. For those of you that were paying attention back in the beta for Dragonflight, you might have remembered that the crafting order system was very late to the party. Literally 2 weeks, I think, before the expansion went live, they gave us our first implementation of the crafting orders, and it felt as if they kind of had to do everything very fast, and they went with a super simplistic approach with public orders, being that you had to provide absolutely everything. This, though, no longer the case. It's not the exact solution that everybody wanted. You still cannot specify quality, but this time you are no longer required to provide all of the materials. Let's take a look at the good old famous elemental lariat for a minute here. You may notice that the UI is ever so slightly changed. They've moved around some of the position of some of this stuff. I think there's more changes to this coming. Even before Dragonflight went live, a little bit of a sneaky update here for you. Even before the game went live, they were planning on redoing the UI for the crafting system because they realized it's too goddamn big and nobody liked it. We're now starting to see some of those changes come into play, but that's another story. The reality here, though, is as you can see that even for a public order, you no longer need to provide all of the materials. So what does this mean, and why do I think this is really good for some people and terrible news for others? Well, for the general player base, and you could probably argue then the greater good, this is great. This practically means that crafted gear is almost free. There's no denying here that the days of people providing all of the materials are slim to none. The likelihood going forward is that the player perception will probably be, you have to provide your spark, so provide your spark. You have to provide the primal chaos, so provide the primal chaos. The rest of it, let the crafter deal with it. Let the crafter deal with all of that sort of business. And people will just put in whatever commission they feel fair for the item. This, though, the flip side of that means that it's going to be horrendous for the crafters. If you are watching this because you are into crafting gear and you would be liking to see more public orders, there'll definitely be a lot more of them. I suspect if you were to click on the little similar order button, obviously this is the PTR, there's nothing here right now, but I would suspect you'll start to see some orders just hovering, just waiting. And that'll probably because they'll actually cost the crafter gold to make them. The commission is likely on the outstanding orders to be less than whatever the value of the missing materials are, meaning that the only crafter that's going to pick that up is one that's got an alternative interest in crafting it. For example, lots of people are still struggling to this day to level up their professions. They've hit that sort of 50-60 wall and they want to get to 100, and they know that work orders is the main way to do it. But the thought of standing in trade chat, hollering and dealing with individuals all day long to get a few skill points in their profession gives them the heebie-jeebies. And understandably so. I fall in that same category. I do not want to play customer service representative while I'm playing a video game and trying to have some fun. This is why most of my dealings up until this point have still maintained on the regular auction house. But it is going to mean that there will be outstanding orders, so at least it does fill the void that people assume of the public order system. I do have the suspicion that it's a little bit of a myth that nobody uses public orders. I think lots of people use public orders, but the problem with it is when you are providing all of the materials, it takes a crafter all of 3 button presses to complete it. And the reality is when all of the materials are provided, why wouldn't you complete it? This meant that an order that was listed was probably taken off the system and filled within about 10 seconds of it ever existing. So in other words, practically meaning for the most people that casually came along to see if there was any orders available, they never saw any. They just practically assumed that they didn't exist. They do exist. They're just very fast. If you're not there at the right time, you're going to miss it. This will change things though. This will mean that on the high traffic items, the items that people do want on a frequent basis, you'll start to see some outstanding orders. But if you as a crafter want to fill that order, you're going to have to start to be super careful that it's not going to put you heavily out of pocket to make it. You're going to have to try and start doing some calculations to see, right, well, is the commission for this going to cover the cost of these materials? How do you then value those materials? Are you looking at the base price of them on the auction house, or are you looking at your personal crafting cost? Maybe we'll have add-ons like Craft Sim to come and help us out with this. But I thought it would be an interesting sort of discussion to put it out to you guys. That this is going to be really good news for, the general player base that gets their sparks, gets their primal chaos, meaning that they can practically get their gear crafted for next to nothing. And I do genuinely mean next to nothing. I would be heavily surprised if if there's ever a commission over a few hundred gold, somebody is probably going to snap it up, unless there is literally 10,000 gold worth of materials to make the item. But even then, there'll be some crafters out there that will be able to get skill points from these, and so they will be willing to pay to get those skill points. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Now, the one thing I haven't touched on, and I kind of deliberately left this towards the end of the video, was the fact that there's still no ability to determine quality on these orders. You can see that the option for quality still isn't here. If you do a personal order, you can still specify the quality. Personal orders have not changed in the slightest. But for the public orders, it's still, here's your spark, here's your chaos, here's some commission. If you want to craft it for me, great. If you don't, I'll wait for somebody that will. And the truth be told is that crafters are pretty thirsty people. And if there's a single person on your realm that is trying to get some skill points for their profession, they will probably pay the price to make that piece of gear for you. It does ultimately mean I'm pretty convinced that most bits of crafted gear will now basically be free. It does mean that you can get the piece of gear practically for free, but you may have some cost incurred if it comes in at a lower quality and you want it at a higher quality. You may have to, still do the same process as you would do now with recrafting. I would actually hope they did. Blizzard did state at the beginning of the Dragonflight that they were going to make recrafting available through public orders as well. We are yet to see this, and I'll keep you guys updated if we hear anything on it. But as it stands at the moment, it's not a thing. But so let me know what your thoughts are on this, boys and girls. Is this going to make it better for people generally, or are you one of those crafters that is like, oh, now I'm going to see orders, but it's going to be double frustrating because I won't want to film them because they're going to cost me gold? Do you think it's going to work out in a different way? Let me know. I'm always interested to hear from you. But I'll leave it there for today, boys and girls. So give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Consider subscribing if you're new around here. And I'll see you all next time. Peace.